just pat myself on the back that you might have been able to bet a little bit, and he probably would have paid you, you know, maybe even if it was just $1, it was just $1. But that's another little way to get a little bit more value out of hands that you have won. All right, ace king suited on the big blind. Big hand, terrible position. Min raise from a 29-4 under the gun. Okay, that guy's shove is like practically inconsequential. A call behind. All right, time for a squeeze. You really need to lay down who's in charge of this hand, and it's going to be you. So, you know, I think a squeeze to 250, even $3 is appropriate right here. 250 is fine. I might have made it 3. And he calls behind you, which is just terrible. And so he checks, and you're betting full pot here. And the half pot bet's terrible because you're way ahead in this hand at this point. I mean, unless he's doing something retarded with pocket aces, or he's suicide set mining with 6s or 2s. So I mean, I think just an overwhelming amount of the time you're ahead here, and so I would have bet at least 5 and probably just 650. And he doesn't go anywhere. Now you've got top 2. You got to be betting hard again, and the bet sizing is all wrong. And I know what you're doing, and it's something that I've done a million times, and even occasionally still do now. Is that you're trying to get as much value as possible for your big hand, because you 3-bet big pre-flop and you flopped big and you turned even bigger. So you're just like, I got to get as much value as I can. But you do that by betting big when you have big hands. This guy isn't going anywhere. And so he comes over the top, and I think it's pretty safe to call. You know, you might be behind a very minute amount of the time. You know, that's poker, but you're definitely calling this. And he shows the set. So that's just so unfortunate. So that's definitely a bit of a cooler. And so he just called twice. And I guess, I mean, he just went to the absolute 10-to-1 set mining odds, which you don't really want to do, especially out of position. So his really bad play was rewarded. And this is definitely a cooler hand. You shouldn't feel too bad. Obviously the advice I was giving you would have made you lose your money quicker, but in the end it didn't really matter. And so hands that he have, like ace queen, which I mean honestly that's what I thought he had, would have definitely paid you off quite a bit more a lot of the time, because he's not going to be hitting sets all the time, especially set mining like that. All right, 6s, and you set mine, which is perfect. And you flop the boat. Now the boat is like the one hand, you know, like boats and better, the one hand I'll somewhat slow play at the flop, just because an overwhelming amount of the time you're just light years ahead of what anyone might have. So he checks to you, and as the pre-flop raiser, you know, that indicates either he's got a really weak ace and he's trying to check raise you and just get the value now, or he's, you know, totally bricked off something like king queen or something like that. And so you go ahead and bet, which is good. And he raises you, and so this is the good situation to slow play, because he's showing some strength here. You know, it's a scary board, and so you can give him that false sense of security, because he has shown strength, and that's one of the things you need in part of the equation of when you want to slow play, because you're slow playing in order to get him to think that he's good with his hand and he can get all in the money. And so I mean, there's definitely, I don't think that I'm not making a case that you shouldn't be raising here, because there's a strong case to be made for that. But I might have just flatted behind and then tried to play up the turn and or river to get the money in at that point. You go ahead and make a raise, which again is totally fine. It's just something I want you to think about. It's an option, and you should always be thinking like, okay, well, folding's not an option, but is calling an option, and what are the benefits of that, as opposed to raising? And so, you know, two different scenarios there. Chances are if he's got an ace here, he's shoving anyways. But if he doesn't have an ace, and let's say he had pocket queens, for example, you know, raising here tells him you do have an ace or better. Flatting behind tells him you're on a draw. So he went ahead and folded, and he took down a pot. But keep that in mind for next time. All right, 8's early on, and you limp, and I don't like that. I mean, it's something that seems quote-unquote standard at full ring play at these micro stakes, so you know, don't beat yourself up and it's something that everyone I know did when we played these stakes. But as you move up, you will learn, with a hand like 8s or 9s in early position, you are raising. You're not limping and calling because it's a dead giveaway every time that you've got a pocket pair and you're set mining. So everyone calls, and you flopped an overpair to not so great a board because certainly a hand like 3s, are ahead of you. Ace 3 has the second nuts. There's a lot of hands that are ahead of you, especially things like 9s, or even people like this guy up here who might be set mining with 5s, 2s, or 4s. So don't feel too secure, but maybe popping it one time here is a good idea. But you go ahead and flap behind, and this guy raises. So let's see what this guy does before we make a decision. He goes ahead and folds. So this is kind of a tough spot because you do have an overpair, but at the same time, you've shown no aggression. You've just kind of, this guy made the aggression move and bet, and you flatted behind, and then this guy comes over the top, and he's kind of a loose aggressive type, 46-40. So he might be doing this with overcards, and he might be doing this with a set or some sort of combo draw like ace 3, 2 hearts, which you're not really necessarily in good shape against. So you go ahead and flap behind, which I don't know, I might have just either gotten it in or folded. I think calling was probably, I really just don't think that was an option for you at that point, but maybe you just wanted to see, one more non Broadway turn, which, when I play someone like this, as this person in position, and I see that Broadway turn card come, that's my ticket to double barreling and taking the pot down. So the jack comes, and you go ahead and check, and he bets out, and I'm guessing you let it go. Nope, you go ahead and flat behind again. And I'm guessing it's just this guy's loose nature. You wanted to look him up. He goes ahead and checks, and he bets again, which he really didn't have too much of an option, and I'm guessing he just saved your money because the 6 coordinated with any sort of 3s draw. But you looked him up, and so let's see what he showed up with. Jack 10. So he did have a bit of a combo draw. It was 2 overs and a flush draw, which you weren't necessarily in good shape against. So there's that case to be made where were we? Right here. Either just shoving it in over the top of him might have made him let it go because he figures, well, I just have a flush draw. But then a player like this might get it in with just a flush draw, and it's like, okay, fine. Or just folding if you ever read like, wow, I'm just not up against something that I'm crushing, and he's never going away because he's such a loose, ridiculous player. All right, big blind, and total nit raises. You go ahead and 3-bet, which is fine. If we had more hands on this guy and we knew he was a 15-5, and that if we bring the pop up in early position, pre-flop raises 12, which is really weird because he's raising more early than he is late. There's a case to be made to just be kind of flatting behind here with the jacks, but the 3-bet, especially at these stakes, is fine, and I like it. He calls, rag board, you go ahead and bet. That's a good c-bet, and he folds. Nice job. All right, so we got time for one more hand, and it should be noted, like with 5s under the gun, again, that limp calling mentality to set mine, I definitely don't like it under the gun, and small pairs like this, I'm actually folding. I'll fold 6s and below under the gun. So we get a raise out of the button, very predictable, and you go ahead and limp call, which I guess is okay, but if your whole plan is to limp call with 5s and set mine out of position, it's a leak, and that's something you shouldn't be doing. You go ahead and open-ended straight draw, and you donk out, which I don't like at all either. I think a check raise is a lot scarier rather than a really weak donk, and I think you're just trying to price yourself for the next street. It's a neophyte mistake. Keep in mind, he raises you. He's got an overpair 100% of the time here, and you just don't let it go. And he shows up with queens. So yeah, so just keep that in mind, and we'll see you next time.